Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back. This is more bite-sized business advice for you. And we got an awesome episode lined up today. A topic that I don't think a lot of people talk about, at least not openly, if they're not forced to. Don't worry, my guest is not under any sort of coercion. I'm not forcing him to talk about anything today, but this is a very important topic. I have Stefano with me, and we're going to talk about reinventing yourself, and also what does it look like to just change kind of who you are in different phases of life and business. These things happen, business change, markets change, the economy goes up and down, and we have to adapt as entrepreneurs. So how do we do that effectively? So before we go any further, let me welcome my guest, Stefano. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Brando. Thank you for having me here. And it's an amazing show, as I can see, and I really like the colors.
Listen, there is nothing more important than the colors.
Yes.
Obviously we're doing something right. No, I love that. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here. But so I'm excited to dive in and kind of talk about what does it look like to reinvent yourself and adapt to changes. But I'm curious, your story. Obviously, you had to go through this yourself. So give me your background. Like, what's your history of getting into entrepreneurship in the first place, and what happened before that to push you into this journey?
Well, let's say there is a lot of straightforward darkness, right? a lot of fatigue, a lot of struggle, a lot of pain, because that's what it is. Is the only way, the only things which is force you to change is pain, is unsatisfaction. Let's face it, right? Just a quick view. I started working when I was like 14, 15 in a restaurant, and heavy, right? It was quite heavy, but I enjoyed it because, as a young kid, you are motivated. You want to conquer the world, right? You want to do things. So then eventually I've been lucky enough to work in good place at 19. For example, I was in a 2 Michelin stars. So if you might know a bit about stars and restaurant level, 2 Michelin is quite good, right? Really, really good. But at that point, I realized that that's not what I was. I didn't felt comfortable with. I didn't feel connected with anymore. I like cooking. I do love cooking, but I do it for my friends, family, and so on, right? It's my passion. It's become my passion. So then I decided to change. But everybody knew me as a cook. Everybody knew me and uh, I am the type of person which like to uh, promote himself as I I bring big, right? I like to project certain can I say certain image, because that's how it works, right? And the more you project yourself, the better you project yourself, the better results you're going to gain, right? So then I had to face the fact that I didn't want to do that, and I want to change industry, right? So but I was still young, so whatever. So you're still forgivable. People will still understand that, right? So I changed. I started working as an entertainer in the entertainment industry for many years, and eventually I stepped into fitness and into health. And let's say that was my door to what I'm doing right now. But in between, right now I'm 35. At the moment of I'm 34, 35 soon, right? Um, but in between, I've been changing many different type of works, because maybe you have a, let's say, a sort of expectancy is even a word. You have a goal which you would love to reach. Obviously, you don't know how to reach it, because what might work for you doesn't mean that it's going to work for me, right? So everybody has his own way to do things. And And so I've been failing in many businesses or in many endeavors, right? In many things. But thanks of that, I've also been learning a lot. For example, last year, I decided to start a journey into real estate here in Portugal. Let's say a big challenge because I don't speak Portuguese. Right? I don't speak Portuguese, right? And it was complicated because people who had the loan for having a listing, you need to be able to communicate efficiently with the owners, with the real estate owners, right? And they do speak English, but not all of them, and maybe they are also a little bit how do you call it, reluctant, if is right. So it was quite tough. But I've been doing few sales, really, really few, right? But that's not the main thing. The thing which I had to force myself to do is to make sure that everybody go to know that right now I am a real estate consultant, right? So changing your Instagram profile, your Facebook profile, start networking. Everybody knows that now Stefano is a real estate consultant. And what's happening if it's going to fail? Eventually, I stopped a few months ago because it's not something which I feel connected, right? My first, let's say, my first intention anyway was to learn the keys, to learn the marketing strategy which is implemented into real estate. Because if you know how to sell a house, you can sell anything you want. So
Yeah.
I've been experimenting that, and I've been gaining a lot of market knowledge. But what that says to my image right now, that everybody is going to think that maybe I failed. I personally don't see it as a failure. I see it as a chance to grow, because right now I can put this as a checkbox and be like, okay, um, I know that in this industry works exactly in that way. I need to talk in this way. I need to move in a certain way and connect with XY people in order to reach the goal, right? The more it's difficult, the easier it's become once you step in a different type of or a easier industry to apply the knowledge which you get there. So I will say, don't be afraid to transform. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to keep going. Because right now, in what we are doing in our business, which is growing by the day, is thanks also on all the experience I've been gaining in through my past endeavors.
Yeah, I like that, and that's why I like this conversation because so many people. There's two ways to look at it, right? You can either take the path of exactly what you've done. Really, is experimenting with different things and just seeing how you feel, how it resonates. Does it light you
Yes.
up, or does it kind of drain you at the end of the day? Or there's the other common path, which is usually preached to people, which is pick one thing, do it for the rest of your life, whether you love it or hate it, or it makes you happy or it makes you go home and cry every day, and suck it up and deal with it. And we'll see you when you're 65, you can collect Social Security. That's at least the narrative, the common narrative in the US where I am. I don't know about internationally,
No,
but
worldwide. I can
yeah,
confirm.
you're shaking your head. So I'm
Yeah.
gathering that's a pretty common narrative everywhere. But this is why I like this conversation because for you, okay, so you're 19, you're in a two Michelin star restaurant, which, yeah, I love food. That's impressive. I've
Mhm.
never even come close to eating at a Michelin star restaurant. So
Thank you.
very, very cool bucket list item. But that's impressive. And then when you go and change from that, I could see how people would be like, Stefano, what are you doing? Like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. This is what you love, but it didn't light you up. So along that whole journey, I'm curious, like, what were the emotions that were coming up for you that maybe the listener is dealing with right now that they can recognize and say, oh, I'm having that. And then also, how did you get past it? I'm just curious in a couple of those
Mm.
situations where you had to transform, like, what were you feeling? And then what'd you do?
Well, let's say unsatisfactions and just a feeling or sensation of not being in the right place, right? With the right people, maybe, or in the right situation. You feel that you want to do something, especially at that age, but you don't understand what. You feel that maybe inside of you, you are meant to whatever. It can be something great or not, whatever. But you feel that you're meant to do something in this life with your life, which is going to bring you um, reward. It can be obviously monetary reward. It can be spiritual rewards. It can be whatever type, whatever you feel inside, right? So it's there is just the feeling of something missing. So let's say once you know that you're going to step on this type of um, let's say you're going to face this type of problems or this type of feelings. My only response personally, which I learned which I learned with the time, or is just to listen to it. Absolutely. So no, because that means there is something wrong. Because even if you're in your own business, right, which you love, in your own activity, you are not making the success you wanted, or the money you want, or or whatever is your goal. Once you feel good, that means you are in the right place, in the right state of mind, which is the most important thing, and eventually all the rest will fall in place. So it's really just the connection, doing something and feel that yes, this is something which make me feel good. I don't say it already. I like to cook. I love cooking. I love cooking. I love eating. But when you're doing it for work, then I mean personally, that I felt that the hour were too long, right? So I keep watching the time and thinking when this was going to be over, and I didn't like the my colleagues anymore, right? And I tried also 2 years because, for example, last time I did I was 27, because every once in a while I was doing maybe some part time, right? Just for some side hustle for collecting extra money, right? And every time it was the same. It's been the same every single time. So that's a clear sign that there is something off, and you just need to step away from that. Don't be as a. Then you say something else, right? What was the second question? Sorry.
It was just so that's yeah, that's what you're feeling, which is important to recognize. And then on the flip side of that is like, okay, once you if you first have to acknowledge the feeling and say it's not
Yes.
right, which it sounds like you did, and then how do you take that leap of faith and just trust that okay, this is not right, something else is. How did you go about finding what that next right thing was for you at the time?
Okay, yeah. Let's say is okay, market research, first of all, right? Because you want to see what is out there or what you could bring out there, right? And just see what you like to do and if there is potential to earn on on what is your natural talents or quality, right? So, for example, before COVID, I started because I love food, right? And I am also a personal trainer and so on. I connect the dots, and I was like, what if I start a small agriculture company? We've been producing microgreens. I was in Austria at that time, right? And so far so good for the first year, right? I start to produce microgreens, sell it to restaurants and B2B, B2C, and eventually Corona came, right? And we had to close. But okay, but that was still good because in that in that year and a half which I opened that hustle, that business, that small business, I I had the chance to reinvent myself also in the eyes of people. right? People will be like, but you are a personal trainer, so why are you right now you are selling microgreens? I'm actually not selling, I'm not changing industry, I'm just incorporating the industry, something which I'm already, right, you got it, I already did do it, right? So as a personal trainer, I could then advise certain way to eat to my students, for example, and be like, look, we are also producing microgreens. Microgreens have these XY benefits to your body, and that was another stream of income, right? So let's say in this case, it's important to be able to find something which you can connect with what you already know and what you already been done, because the jump will be much easier, right? And then on 2021, I decided to move to Portugal because one of my students, which I was giving personal training, actually, is he had this idea on open on a vertical, or starting a vertical farm, right? And but he didn't have the experience, right? And so he asked me if you can join forces and do something. So I bring my expertise, he's bring his own expertise, and eventually a team came up, right? We formed a team and we started this a new adventure here in Portugal, right? And so from what it was my old side hustle business, this led me to come here and starting an even bigger business, right? Focus on sustainability and so on by using hydroponic system and and so on. And right now, because of that, I've been able to settle down anyway, and keep doing what I also been doing. I do say through the years, right? So we started also this business which is focused on integrative medicine and sport, right? So they're all connected. They're all connected to health. They're all connected together. So one more time, if you want to do a jump, right, do it. But make a jump that makes sense, right? Before earlier on, I did really I talk about real estate, right? And you are going to say, what is the connection between microgreens, right, and real estate? Well, it's always about the well-being in general. It's always about the serving people, right? In this case, I said already, the real estate didn't function as a the purpose wasn't for become eventually the best real estate agent ever, right, or broker ever, but was just for learning from the industry and bring it to my specific industry. So transformation is something which you just let it flow. You just let it come to you, and you need to be able to put yourself in a position to make transformation come to place, right? So if you feel uncomfortable, is a good sign. It's actually a good sign. Embrace it and go with it.
Yeah, that's powerful. And the one thing I kind of noticed through all of your history was the theme, like you said. Um, I'm gonna put your website on the screen here now. If you're watching, it's on the screen. If you're listening, or even if you're watching, it's in the show notes. You can go check out what Stefano's up to right now. But
Yeah.
along the lines of this theme, before we wrap up this episode, I'm curious. Like, it's very apparent you started in food, and then so you learned about food and how it nourishes your body, and I'm sure you learned about all the nutrition of different foods and what's good and what's bad.
Yes.
Then you move into the health space in terms of physical health.
Yeah.
The real estate, I'll be honest, that might have been a little bit more in left field. I like that you were serving people, but along this journey, just a little bit more removed. But now
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
microgreens, and now you're in the health industry and you're disrupting the traditional medicine health industry. It's very clear to me that it's all led to this. So no, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
don't think that you've been all over the place. You've stayed within this general theme of helping people and then being healthy as well.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
cool to see how when you're in the moment, like things do feel random. If it's like,
Yeah.
restaurant thing's not for me. I want to try something else. Let me try, physical coaching or health coaching, something like that. And you're like, whoa, those are two way different things. Well, look back 15 years when you get there, because maybe they
Yes.
connect and they serve that bigger purpose. So very cool to see that journey and just have the courage really to take that step and go out and see what's right for you and what's not. But I'm curious now. So tell me a little bit about this new company before we wrap up, newer company at least in the
Yes.
health industry. I love what you're doing. I told you before we started recording, can't stand the medical industry, and I can't stand medical insurance even more
Yes,
because both
totally.
of those industries need a gigantic overhaul. I'm sure the listeners agree with me too. So tell me what you're doing in this industry now and how everything you've done has fed into this company.
Yeah, well, so we are basically, in a few words, we are aiming to bring better wellness to people, right? So the medical industry is quite, how can I say, without compromising ourselves, is quite spoiled. Yeah, fair enough, right? And so what we are focused on is try to first of all bring information, right? So me, I am a health promoter, health coach, and a personal trainer. My partner, she's a physician, and we are collaborating also with different health experts, so psychologists, nutritionists, and so on. And the focus is on the members, right, on the community. What we really aiming for is try to, um, first of all, for example, bringing down the price of wellness, because staying healthy and being healthy is expensive nowadays, right? You need to be able to afford it somehow, right? So by having packets, if it's even a package, yeah, offering package to the member, they will be able to have access to all the wellness expert community, right? Expertise at a reduced price, because it's all in one. Instead of going here to a nutritionist, then to a psychology over there, and then you just can find everything in one spot. We try our best to motivate as well. So we are also putting on place something which is called health coin, right? So the more you stay healthy, the more you are going to gain health money to be able to invest in different type of it can be in the Olosway network, right? So we are closing, how do you call it, deals with the restaurants, for example. So the more health coin you're going to earn, and the more you're going to be able to invest this money in your health by eating at the restaurant, or maybe by going to the dentist, and get a little bit of discount, because see, like, almost like, not really like an insurance, right? Because usually what do you do with insurance, you pay the insurance and you can get sort the discount in whatever you're going to use the insurance for, right? In this case, but you have also there is a lot of dark side also in that way, because what is missing in all of that is the community, right? The community is the most important key factor, because imagine to be able to do all of that, to think about your health, but in a family, right? With people which they understand you, and they are all professionals, right? So you don't have to, um how can I say, you don't have to, how can I say, there is not this distant wall
Yeah.
between the two, people, right? So we are building. It's actually a club. It's a club for members, but we are really, um, working for expanding this. Right now, it's just here in Lisbon, but we're working for expanded. all over the world. At least that's the goal, right? That's what you are aiming for.
Yeah.
And what can I say? In answer, we also do have a podcast, as I've been talking with you before, right? Because information is the key. A lot of times, unfortunately, people doesn't have the right information. Social media with influence and so on, they are is full of lies or just useful things, right? I am the only way to say something this moment will force me to become French, right? And I still want to keep it elegant and nice, right? But it's full of not good thing, right?
I
So
agree with you.
so our aim is also to have like a really science-based approach, but at the same time, because we are focused on integrative medicine, so bringing all the other system, the other way of keeping healthy. So, for example, Chinese medicine, the Chinese medicine is amazing. Is amazing. They have a lot and a lot and a lot of way to cure or to actually stay healthy, right? But it's not accepted from Western medicine because of, well, we all know what's happening, right? We all know the deal. So this is different when we're talking about integrative medicine, right? It's because it's holistic. We are just it's just a way to optimizing wellness for people.
I love it. I think this is such a cool idea for a company. I've seen a couple of similar ideas here in the States where, where people are just they're forced to disrupt the common narrative in the medical industry. And I love when people get to the point of just making that change because nobody else will. And I love that you've
Yeah,
done that over in Portugal, and hopefully internationally very soon. But
yeah, yeah.
it's so important. And I think those two industries, healthcare and insurance, have such a stranglehold on health, which is really not how it should be. Health should be in our hands as business owners, as people, as human beings. Our health should be in our own hands. And I personally don't feel like I have that option. And I'm so glad people like you are out there starting companies to disrupt that and bring the community together so we can interact with each other and see, hey, what are you doing that I'm not doing that may be working that no doctor has ever told me about? So
Absolutely.
absolutely phenomenal. Stefano, I can't thank you enough for being here. I really appreciate you sharing your
Thank
story.
you. Think I want to thank you to give us the chance to be able give us a platform, right, to be able to spread the voice, right, and get even more visibility, because I think it's something really important nowadays that we all help each other somehow, and we understand that there is a way to to feel better every day, right?
Yeah,
It's really
absolutely.
important.
And that's why I have stories like this on this show too, because it's not just a business show. Because if we
Yeah.
just focus on business, you miss 2/3 of what's really important, if not more, to be fully honest with you. Like I am someone who has health challenges. If I ignored them, I wouldn't be in business. I'd be
Yes,
6 feet
absolutely.
underground. So
Yes.
we have to focus on all things: your health, your wellness, your mindset, and your business, among other things. So yeah, episodes like this are really important to me because it's about stretching yourself as an entrepreneur and
Yeah.
understanding, this whole story that you told today about what feels right for you. Where are you in the right place? Are you in the right business? Are you taking the right steps? And then also on the backside, your health. Are you taking care of yourself? You're taking care of your mindset. You're taking care of your body. You can't run a good business if your body and your mind is in the toilet. So please,
Absolutely.
if you get nothing out of this episode, I hope you get way more than this. But you, your business is not just business. It's you, it's all of your employees and their health and their wellness and their mindsets as well. So it is a complete picture. I appreciate you watching, listening, wherever you are. Make sure you subscribe to Harmonious at Lunch so you can keep catching these daily episodes and we can disrupt the way you think about your business and get you to that next level in your business as soon as possible. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Bye.